Welcome to this week's version of Nickels and Dimes, our weekly video series. Well, cars are often the worst long-term, let's call it, investments we can make. Most cars we end up losing money on. Now, I know there are certain cars like exotic cars or collector cars with low supply and high demand that tend to appreciate over time. But in most cases, most cars are a very bad long-term investment. So today we're going to talk about the costliest or most expensive cars to own, and you might find your car on one of these lists very likely. And by the way, if you find value in this video, if you see it on social media like Facebook or LinkedIn, go ahead and share it, or if you get it in an email, go ahead and forward to a friend. So the costliest car brands to own. Now, before we jump in, let's look at some statistics. The average monthly car payment for new cars is a whopping $737. And the average used car had a slightly lower payment. This is per Experian of $520. And you could see here what the average loan amount is on a new car and what the average loan amount on a used car is, with the used car folks on average paying around double in terms of an interest rate. Now, you might be wondering, why do the used car folks pay on average a higher interest rate? It could be potentially because maybe the credit is not as good. So that's one factor, but here are the statistics. Also, some additional data here. 43% of the cars financed in the third quarter of last year were new, and financing for used cars sat at a 57% rate in the same quarter per Experian. And of consumers purchasing new cars in 2024, 80% choose to finance their car, slightly down from 81.29% from 2022. So without further ado, which is the most efficient car to own and which is the most expensive car to own? Let's first look at the cheapest brands to own and maintain longer term. And yes, it is Tesla. And you can see the list here: Tesla, Hyundai, Dodge, Jeep, and so forth. So again, this is a list of the cheapest, most efficient cars to own over a 1 to 5 and a 6 to 10 year period of time. So which are the costliest brands to own longer term? Man, you're probably not going to feel good about this list if you own one of these cars. Subaru Mini, which is a subsidiary, I believe, of BMW. Acura, Infiniti, Volvo, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Porsche, and Land Rover, aka Range Rover. Again, these are the most inefficient, costliest cars to own over the long term. Now, one of my friends who is a car mechanic teases me that BMW, now years ago I used to own a number of BMWs. He said that BMW stands for break my wallet. Certainly if if that car is out of warranty, like many of the other cars on this list, it's going to cost you. Labor cost is expensive, especially these days. Parts, with many parts having challenges in terms of supply. This is the most inefficient car to own, at least a list as of recent, over the long term. And if you own a Range Rover, you might be disappointed that your car is on this list. Now, you might be wondering, why are these cars most expensive? Part of it is because these cars tend to depreciate the most over time. In fact, Range Rover and other brands, English brands like Jaguar and Aston Martin, tend to depreciate significantly versus other brands. So if you have a car that depreciates on average more than another car, that's going to tie into the cost. So keep that in mind. Now, how do you calculate how much your car is going to cost you? Here's 4 easy steps. We'll go over this one by one. The first thing you want to do is go to Edmunds.com. This is a car type website. So go to Edmunds.com and calculate to factor in the average cost based on your car. Here's what that form looks like. Go to Edmunds.com, fill out this information. This is, you're going to select the year, make, model, style, and mileage. The second step is add in the cost of insurance. As you know, some cars may have higher insurance premiums based on factors like safety features, repair costs, and of course the cost of the car. Third thing you want to do is calculate your estimated fuel costs by using your car's average mile per gallon, monthly mileage, and average fuel cost in your area. The fourth thing you want to do, factor in the registration fees and taxes you'll have to pay, along as noted with the car depreciation. So if you saw your car on this list, meaning on the efficient list, continue to do what you're doing. I think that's an awesome thing, and you might want to continue to hang on that car to the extent, you know, it's doing well by you, it's not breaking and so forth. Cars tend to be the worst investment over the long term. If, on the other hand, if you have a car that's inefficient, meaning it's costing you a lot of money over the long term, maybe you want to get rid of it and buy an efficient car. Now, again, Tesla was on this list as the #1 most efficient car to own long term. So if you have had a good experience with a Tesla, if you own one, certainly you probably agree with this. There are other cars on this list, let me bring that up again, that are very efficient to own long term. So you want to make sure Hyundais, Hondas, Toyotas, these type of cars tend to have high reliability and low long-term maintenance. All that to say is, as I mentioned, if you like this video, if you see this video on social media, go ahead and share it. Or if you get it in an email, go ahead and forward to a friend. If you would like a second opinion on your financial situation, here's our website at nicholswealth.com. Click on this request an appointment tab, fill out the information, and one of our advisors will reach out to you and even review with you what type of car you might like to buy based on your budget. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.